Hello, everyone. Welcome to Genealogy Adventures. I'm Brian Sheffy.
And I'm Donya Williams. How are you guys today? It's a beautiful day outside.
It is absolutely stunning Sunday. As always, we hope that as you're tuning in, we find you well and in good spirits. As always, thank you for tuning in and spending the next 60 minutes with us, no matter how you're tuning in.
Yes,
Um,
yes. And continued prayers are definitely going out to the families of North and South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all those who were hit by Hurricane Helene, and continued prayers are going out for the new coastal storm that is on its way. I don't think God is going to let it strike twice in the same spot, but I'm continuing, to keep you guys in prayer and just everything, especially my family who we couldn't even get in touch with in some instances, and just all of that. So
and still can't get in touch with a lot of them.
right, right.
So, yeah, everyone is definitely in our prayers. As I said to you when we were in the green room, I'm looking for guidance from weather forecast to know how bad Charleston's going to get hit.
Yeah, I'm. I worry about you being down there. You know my thought process with the weather. I feel like I'm protected. I'm
Oh,
protected.
I hear that. um, so we hope we have what's going to be an interesting conversation today. And kind of the genesis of this show came around because of elderly people in both of our families who are very ill. Um, and one of the things that doesn't really get discussed very much is, people collect things, whether it's funeral programs, family photographs, birth records, death records, even really cool letters. You never really know what's in someone's collection.
Yeah.
And in and amongst preparing for that final tradition, I'm as guilty about this too. When both of my parents passed, not really having that conversation with immediate family members, specifically, hopefully, if the family member is still alive, but siblings and cousins, about what is a respectful way to preserve that family history, ephemera, documents, photographs, whatever they happen to be, to make sure that the family preserves them and keeps them and passes them on to the next generation, or what you do if there is no immediately identifiable next generation person to identify.
And not only that, Brian, the importance of it is the fact that you have these stories that are told and the things that are going on today with history and well, not just history, but in government and how they're continuously wiping out our stories. We have to really kind of just definitely take steps right now to get this stuff done, to figure out the best way to preserve our stories, because they're determined to get rid of them. So that's the other shoe, on this whole situation. Preserving these stories now is more important than ever because they're trying to get rid of them
Yeah.
altogether.
Which, on the flip side of that, whether you want to call it Project 2025 or Agenda 47, however you want to refer to it. Now, reading through all of those 900 pages, because I did read through that whole thing,
I didn't. I ain't gonna lie.
there was no mention about what may or may not happen to the availability of public records. But if nothing else, if everything else isn't going to be protected, if nothing else is sacrosanct, then why should that be? And if they
True.
know that we're finding our difficult family histories and stories, we are literally finding the paper receipts. Is that something else that's going to be up for grabs? One of the things that Donnie and I wanted to talk about is we're not avoiding the subject of 23andMe.
No, we're
I've
not.
been hugely busy. You've been hugely busy. We haven't had a chance to have that conversation between ourselves. I still need to do a lot more research. I just have not had time to do the research.
Neither have I. But we are definitely going to get on that, whether it is trying to get somebody from 23andMe, whether it's a past person or a present. Right now, the only person, it's only one person there. But as far as board is concerned, what have you, but whether one or the other, we're going to try, or if it's just Brian and I, this, maybe it'll be the genealogy of interest team. Maybe that's something the research team can actually be on the show to discuss. We're not really sure yet, but we are looking into it, and we will not ignore it. We know that you guys really come to us about different things, how we address things and stuff. So we appreciate you for looking to us, that for trusting us in that manner, and we're definitely going to check it out and get back to you.
Yep. So what Donya said, thank you so much for trusting us, valuing our insights and our opinions. And like I said, neither one of us wants to misspeak. We don't really know enough about it. And we're being very honest with that, with all of you who've been reaching out in all the various ways that you've done it. So just you can just give us the grace of a little bit of time. We have a lot of research to do, and we promise we will talk about that. But that kind of segues into this, because if people want to pull or delete their accounts, how do you preserve what you gain, what you've gained and what you've learned? And well, 23andMe doesn't have the records, but certainly DNA matches, your DNA results. How do you save that so you can always have that to refer to? That's kind of.
No, I just said right.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to jump in on that one. So, to give you an idea of, again, what we're talking about, I seem to be the holder of my family's photographs, both from my father's side and my mother's side. My sister did a wonderful job scanning and digitally preserving everything, but I actually have the originals. And I've been putting it off, and I promise I'm not going to. I've been putting it off, actually writing people's names on the back of those photographs. Because that's important.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be my eldest grandniece who gets all of this, because she is the only one who's expressed an interest in family history and genealogy. But to make it easier for her, and even then, I'm not going to know. I'm not going to know all the names of the people in the photographs, but I will give it my best shot. So
Right.
at least that part of it's done, and make sure that everything is kind of packed up properly, safeguarded. If I have to use acid-free boxes for the really kind of old documents and papers, like my father's birth certificate, and christening papers, and my mother's birth certificate and her baptism papers, and all of those kind of things, that I hope future generations of my family will be interested in seeing.
Yeah. For me, I am I I'm just gonna say it. I am the unofficial, official genealogist in my family. I say it that way because before my uncle died, he he validated that. And this was not just any uncle, this was the uncle that everybody, looked towards for different things. He validated that. So that's where the official comes in. But the unofficial comes in is because I'm not the one that my family wants to be the person to do it. Then I go back to the official is because Donya personally doesn't care what anybody wants. I'm doing it anyway. So that's why it's official, unofficial, official genealogist in this family. But with that being said, I also have found so many people, got so much information. I know so much about my family, both the immediate and the outside. That immediate family, actually, a few of my cousins, because I was doing the work that I am doing, because I am doing the work that I'm doing, they just gave me photos because they was about to throw them in the trash. I lie to you not
And
about.
that's my biggest worry. That's the easy, and because people really aren't kind of in their right minds, because you're consumed with grief.
It's
You're,
no. This was years later. She was just getting ready
oh,
to throw them away.
okay.
Now I'm gonna stand up for a second and I'm gonna get something.
Mhm.
And I'm getting this for a reason. So this picture is of my grandparents. Now, the reason why I got up to get this picture, this particular picture, is because this was one of the pictures that she had. This picture is special. Now my mom don't even have this picture. She has a copy of it. All of the siblings had a copy of it. But this particular one is a special one. You want to know why? Because this particular one is the original photo. And it's special because the person who did it was the man, famous photographer Addison Skurlock. So this is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And she was about to throw it away. She was about to get rid of it. She was like, "Oh, I got another copy." But you don't have this. Like this. And I'm like, what the? Give me the picture. And then I have another one of my aunt, of my great grandmother, Addison Skurlock. I have two priceless photos of my grandmother, of my grandparents, and my great grandmother. These things have to be taken care of. Now, my niece, God rest her soul, she has passed on. She was the one that was supposed to get this stuff. Between her and possibly my nephew Mark, my son Marcus. Now it just might be Marcus because he might continue it on, he might not, but his interest is there, but I'm not sure. But photos are so important that it's ridiculous to be able to have priceless photos by famous photographers. I mean, Addison is so famous that he had an entire um he had an entire what do you call it in a museum, Brian?
Exhibit.
He had an exhibit at the Smithsonian. Entire exhibit. And I went there and I even have the negative of my uncle and his first wife. They gave it to me because they was like, "Oh, this is yours."
Oh wow.
They were like, "This ain't even ours. This is yours." Oh, thank you. So I have that negative. It was from Addison Skurlock. So these priceless things that we have to be able to take care of and everything. This particular story of photos that I'm talking about came from oral history. So it's a mix of saving your oral history and understanding what's behind those oral histories, how to tell the, and making sure your children know this history of your family, how it was being done, where it came from. So when my children, when they get this picture the day I leave, it's gotta go to somebody that's gonna take care of it, because if y'all don't take care of it, I will give it to somebody who will. You know?
And I guess the other reason why it's really important to me is as gentrification happens, specifically in the cities, the erasure of Black neighborhoods follows hand in glove, and things like photographs prove that we lived in certain places, that we had vibrant communities in certain places, that we
Right.
had Black businesses in certain places. So even beloved aunt and uncle who lived in East Orange, New Jersey. My uncle Clint owned his own garage. Very humble man, nice business, provided a very good living for him and his wife. But that was a Black-owned business in Newark, New Jersey, and I actually have one of his, not Newark, sorry, East Orange, New Jersey, and I actually have his insurance paperwork from when he first opened
Wow.
that auto shop. So
Wow.
even in and of themselves, they're utilitarian pieces of paper, but because I know that that was his business and that it was a Black-owned business that doesn't exist anymore in East Orange, New Jersey, that's really special. Is it going to change our understanding of the world or the country or history? No. But a Black man
But
was
it
able
might. That's just
to
it.
be proud.
Yes. Think about it. We didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, that is the narrative.
Far as they're concerned, we didn't do anything. It's so funny that you even brought something like that up, because not Brian, Loretta and I were working on one of those crazy families, those Edgefield family members, Gordons, on the Gordon family. Do you know them? Listen, they crazy, but them people had money. Like they had. like them Gordons had, it was one of them. He had at least two businesses. One was a grocery store,
Oh,
a black owned grocery store. And then I think the other was a gas station. This is information that is pertinent to our children today because right now they feel like we just getting started. They don't know. You know what I'm saying? So this stuff is so pertinent to our children today. This information is so pertinent because they don't realize that we didn't, first of all, civil rights didn't just start in the 60s. It started way back. Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington weren't the only two people that, black men that did their thing. There were several others during that timing and that period. The way history teaches things, you would think that Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington was a part of the 60s civil rights movement, the way it's taught. It's not. They try to push it all together to make us think everything we just up and started doing stuff. First, we were slaves, then we up and started doing things. No, this is not how that was. This is not how that went. We had to struggle through the whole thing. Don't sit here and think we didn't fight because they do think we did not fight. So all of this information, all of these different things, this grocery store, this gas station, these things were done in the 1920s, 30s, 40s. And 30s being very important because that was during the Great Depression. While most other people were struggling, this man kept his livelihood going. He was feeding folks, which we've always done.
I'm going to say it doesn't come any more core to a community than a gas station and a grocery store. You know what I mean?
It doesn't. I mean, this is why Enoch Peterson was recognized in 1909 because he was feeding a community. He was a farmer that was known within the community. Who's Enoch Peterson? An uncle of my great grandmother's uncle. But he was a black man. And he was and they put in the newspaper about his death. Why? Because he fed them. He took care of them. They got to show that. But, it's very little. Oh, this black man did this, but nobody else did.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So they need to know all this. That is very pertinent, Brian. That is very pertinent.
Yeah. Or, again, having a wonderful family, a little newspaper clipping that led me to do some digging on my father's uncle, Daniel Henry Sheffey of Whiteville, Virginia, ended up moving to Rocky Mount. He was a what do they call what do you call a foot doctor? It's the specific name.
Podiatrist.
Yeah, he was a podiatrist at the height of Jim Crow. He was allowed to have his storefront on the main street in the white town because he was very fair complected and very well spoken. Short, funny story. Apparently, they called him Velveteen Danny because he had a silky, smooth, amazing singing voice. But he was a podiatrist. He served the white people during the day, and this is the part that I loved. He would serve or help African Americans at his home with his wife, and he never took a cent. You could pay for a service with a chicken or you know how our people did: chicken, eggs, pigs, whatever.
Yeah, I know, but our children today don't, and that's where the problem is. And although what I'm getting ready to say may sound off topic, it actually isn't. So just bear with me. Do you remember? You might not, but you babysat your nieces and nephews. Mm-hmm. So you got nieces and nephews that's in the millennial. They're in the millennial generation. So they watched Blue's Clues.
Oh yeah, they did.
Okay, and they saw the original Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you how I have my children are millennial kids. And right now my heart is for these millennial kids. Because every time Steve gets on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever the case may be, he gets up there and he says, "How are you doing?" Because that's what he does. He gets up, he does this. That was the whole thing. Brian, if you've never read the thread of him doing that, it is the saddest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And we as Gen Xers, baby boomers, and possible silent generation mothers and fathers, we messed up somewhere. These kids are, some of them are kind of like suicidal. They don't know certain things. They don't know how to deal with things. Cycling back to what I'm talking about, this mixes in because some of our families decided, I'm not going to raise my children the way my parents did, and it missed out. It missed the generation, and it kept missing certain things. So because that was missed, because those stories and those lessons that they needed to be taught, they weren't taught, and it went away. And it's constant. And this is what's happening with our history today. We are constantly not following suit and not following through what we need to do as far as to let our kids know what they need to know. I hope that made sense, that correlation, because it's so sad. It's the saddest thing. I've never seen anything like it. Like, they don't know that trials and tribulations are not supposed to run you. You're supposed to learn from them. That's one of the main things that I've noticed. And they don't get it. And this is what our teachings and learning about different families and their stories and what they did and what they went through and how they dealt with the 30s. What that I just said. What was in the 30s?
Oh, Jim Crow.
Not just Jim Crow, the what you call them period, where they ain't had no food, they barely could eat. I just said it.
The Great Depression.
The Great Depression, how they lived through all that. My mom was born in the Great Depression, but let her tell it, she ain't never won for nothing. You know.
I can add to that. My feeling is, and specifically when I left America and then when I came back to America, I could really feel the difference. Even as a young kid, there was, going back to DC or Virginia or Maryland to see family, because again, that's when I got kind of seeped into Black culture. There was a real sense of Black community. You weren't isolated unless you wanted to be, but you weren't isolated. You were surrounded by people who were experiencing the same things and same pressures that you were, just based on the color of your skin. That seems to be gone. And because that Black village mentality is gone, surrounding the kids and lifting everyone up and everyone putting their shoulder to the wheel to kind of help each other out. As you said, a lot has fallen through the cracks. A lot has gotten lost. We have I can't even say younger generations anymore because I'm arguing with 40, 50-year-olds online about what African-American history. We can't even agree on that anymore.
Because everybody has their own thought process of what it is. And the bottom line is that it's not like it's not right there for you to see. And because it's right there for you to see it. But you are you got people who really want to separate it. And it's no separation. You can't separate history. It's the same history. We were right here we were right here when everything was happening. So to look at my great-great-grandmother Martha and know that while Preston Brooks was beating Charles Sumner on the Senate floor, she was enslaved on this side. I cannot say, oh, that's her history. Realizing that when Preston came home, she did not hear Preston talking all that smack about what he did to Charles Sumner. So now she's mixed into that history.
Yeah.
She's mixed right into it. It's not you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be over here and then say, but yeah, this was happening too. No, it either was or it wasn't. It's one or the other.
Mm-hmm. I remember in the late 60s and early 70s, my parents having pinochle parties. largely, almost exclusively with their black friends. And listening to people talk about, yeah, I'm dealing with this ridiculous racist thing at work, and my dad chiming in, going, well, these are my child. I hear you, brother, because I'm dealing with this, and then the other people are saying we're dealing with this and dealing with that. One of those pinochle parties, they were fun, but it was also a way to kind of vent and kind of let the pressure stop building.
Yeah, she hit the
People may.
peanut parties.
Yeah, I just dated myself there. But you knew you weren't alone, and you had friends who, although may not have been experiencing exactly the same thing that you were experiencing, they were experiencing very similar things. And again, like I said, I just feel as though all of that's gone, and that kind of collective knowledge that the Black village that our families were parts of are equally gone,
Yes,
to our detriment.
yes, and the best thing to do, as far as, because I don't want us to go too far away on how to do it, because we know where the fall is for all of this stuff. The goal is to figure out how. Number one, you need to find someone who's interested, and finding someone who's interested in family genealogy is actually a very hard thing. And let me just say this to our fans: thank y'all, because I wasn't scrolling up. Everybody putting depression, Great Depression. I wasn't scrolling up on the thing. So thank y'all so much. But yes, that's what it was, Great Depression. But overall, we need to figure out first and foremost who is interested. And sometimes you don't even know they're interested until you talk to them. So you gotta start somewhere. You gotta start talking to people and just see where it comes in. Some people get bored with it and they walk right away. Some people listen, but then they realize, this ain't nothing that I actually want to do. But then there are some that catch that bug and bam, you got your person. My niece was that person for me. I used to say stuff and she would be right on top of it. Bam. Now I have another little cousin who's like that. She might, I don't know. But we just got to get back into, I have to open myself up back to my immediate family again. I have to be honest. I've definitely closed myself off from them. Um, I love the family. I love my whole entire family, but my DNA family loves me genuinely, and I like that feeling. And maybe at 52, I don't know. I need to learn how to deal with that. But
So before we tackle D Turner's question, because that is an excellent question.
yes, it is. I'm
Um,
starring it.
I want to tackle it from the other angle, from what you were following on from what Donya was saying. What do you do in the instance where there just isn't anyone within your immediate family that has any interest in keeping any of these materials, preserving them, passing them on? They legitimately have zero shakes of a lamb's tail
Right.
in terms of interest levels. Um, One thing that I'm doing with my books, for instance, donating them to either a local history center or a museum. So I've got my short list. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm reaching out through email to say, hey, got this massive collection of African American genealogy related books. Um, would your organization be interested in receiving them? That's one thing. Um, Photographs, that may be something else. If people in your family just aren't interested in having original photographs, um, by all means digitize them so at least you have them in some shape or form. But also, think about donating those to, don't throw them out.
I
Not
swear.
throw them out, because they are documenting not just family life but Black life in this country.
I swear.
Kind of feeling is, if you're throwing it out, then that's your input as to what you think the value of African American history is. There will always be someone or an organization that would benefit from having them, or would like to have them. It's just a matter of doing a little research. Don't wait till the last, spending some time doing some research to find out who the applicable people are or the interested parties are. And again, there are museums, there are historical societies that have digitization projects. We're doing it in my museum, the International African American Museum, digitizing things like funeral programs, church obituaries, family photographs that we're adding to our database to make them publicly available. We are not the only people doing it. If you live in the DC area or the greater DC area or the DMV area, reach out to the the Smithsonian African American, National African American Museum.
Yeah.
There's always someone. If you're a member of OGS, Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, one, just check in with them. Do you have facilities to be able to store papers and photographs? Or if not, who within our community, within our state or the county, would you suggest that I reach out to donate these family history documents and photographs?
Yeah. And if not, go to places like the Equal Justice Initiative. I mean, they may be able to find areas where you can get that done because they're so big on making sure that our story, he's opening up all these different museums on Black history and things of that nature. Go to those places that you don't normally think of. Talk about the Frederica Newton, Huey P. Newton's wife. The Huey P. Newton Foundation. That is another area that you might be able to do something like that with and stuff. And then we have other, our wonderful guest, Rhonda Harris says Allen County Public Library wants everything inspirational. Shelley, state archives or libraries. I mean, there are different things that can be done, and we have to do these things. The problem that I have, and I got thick skin, so y'all can come for me if you want. But the problem that I have with Black folks today is that they talk a good game. They don't follow through. And that's the problem. We need to really start following through. Like we can, we can only do but so much. We try to do, if y'all knew how much stuff Brian and I have on our plate, like the stuff is crazy. It's funny to me because a lot of people don't realize that I actually do research, but they will go to Brian first. But I do paid research for people, but they will go to Brian, but I do it too.
And I send them straight to
And
you.
he sent them straight to me. And then I put it out amongst our genealogy group. And sometimes I'm the person that's doing the research. Sometimes it's Sharon. Sometimes it's Loretta. It just all depends. But I do them too. But people don't realize that I actually do it. But I have to learn how to know how to say no sometimes for certain things because I want so much for us. I want so much for us, and I don't have the bandwidth for it. I don't. But I'm trying to realize that, and I'm trying to reorganize myself so that I can spread it differently. Maybe figure some other direction. But this is the best outlet for me and Brian to help y'all get where y'all need to be. But y'all need to be there, and y'all need to do it.
It's the doing.
It's the
It's the
doing.
doing part that's also the crucial part of it.
Yes, it's the doing. We have to do these things. Oh yeah, check your organizations that your family was involved in. Yes, the
Yes.
D9. Yes, the all of the sororities and Black sororities and fraternities. I mean, that is definite. That's definite. Like we have a cousin who was one of the founders of Delta Sigma Theta. I'm in constant contact with one of their people working with them when it comes to her.
Yeah. Was your the person that you may have in mind, were they a member of the union? A lot of unions have archives.
Yes. Yes, that's another one. That's
Would be a
another
really good one. Now, to come back to the excellent question that D. Turner asked, that is a good question. I have a hot take. I'm sure you're going to have one too, Danya. I guess I've always thought about strict kind of
Well,
probate.
let's do the question so that everybody know. Are
So,
you also saying that we should document and put this knowledge in a will like an asset?
mhm.
Okay.
So, like I said, that is a great question. I'm even conflicted within myself. So I definitely see the point of a will. Full stop. I definitely see a point of a will if you have anything that people are going to fight over, like china, silver, crystal, rings, jewelry, all of that stuff. Because it's important that the person that you want to actually receive those things. Trust me, I have learned so much about heirs property since I've been here in South Carolina. I am so thankful that my ancestors, even if they may have struggled to pay for a will, paid for a will. Um, that way they can make sure that the exact people got what they wanted them to receive from their estate. When it comes to photographs and documents, I would urge someone to try to have that conversation within their family first, see who's genuinely interested or wants to kind of carry on that work or be the person responsible for safeguarding that, and then you can put that in your will. I nominate so and so to receive my photographs and papers and whatnot. What are your thoughts, Tanya?
No, I'm in complete total agreement with you on that one. A will is definitely a good way to go. And the thing about the will is that a lot of black people don't do it.
No, they don't. We
And
should.
so, and we should. So this brings up a whole nother conversation amongst this show because we need to start doing things like that and following suit and following through with things like that. Where to go to get your will, how to go about getting your will. Is it cost efficient to go the cheap route at Staples and just pulling that will paper out and getting that stuff and writing it yourself? How which way should you go as far as all of those things are concerned? Is there a finance? What's the financial cost to doing something like that? How do you keep it? How do you hold it? How does it connect to our insurance? All of those different things plays a part in a will, and we learned that for when you're reading those wills from the front in genealogy. You see all of that in those wills in genealogy. Exactly, Lisa. What's the difference between a trust instead of a will? All of those things. All of those things. You know what I'm saying? She was like, I mean, it's a lot of different stuff. But are we talking to our children about these things? This is the stuff that we need to discuss. So this show is important because these are things that y'all need to go back to your children. I don't care if they're adults or if they're young. If they're old enough to understand this, then we need to talk to them about it. We need to put it out there. My kids hate when I start talking to them. But ask me, do I care? I don't care.
You and one of my family members, I swear to the cosmos, you were like twins, separated from birth
Your
by
sister.
different mothers. Because she also had that conversation with her kids. So when, her time comes, there's no shocks. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do, who's getting what she wants. Those conversations have been had already.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and then I don't even, so none of my kids, all of my children are old enough to have children. And Lisa was talking about she's making plans now with children and grandson. I don't have grandchildren. So how important is that? Technically, if my daughter doesn't have a daughter, My mom line ends. How important is that?
Oh, that's right, because you don't have any nieces. You only have nephews.
I mean, I have nieces, but I'm talking about from female to female
Yeah,
to
that's what I mean.
female.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not. My nieces are through my brothers,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, there's no female to female line except for me. So if my daughter doesn't have a daughter, or my mother line ends. That's the end of it. And people don't realize the importance of that. You know what I'm saying? That actually ends everything back to Moses Williams's wives. That's literally, we're talking all the way back into the 1700s, 1600s, 1700s. It ends that and beyond, because we don't know who their parents were. We're ending over 10,000 years worth of people with my line, but y'all don't want to talk about it. Like, you look at, I don't know. That's just me. Yeah, yeah, that's just me.
Well, I'm the same. My father's Y DNA. Now there are other male cousins, that
Yeah, but
that
that's
that
cousins.
can carry that Y DNA because the male to male to male. But in terms of him and the Y DNA that he had, that stops with my brother and I.
Yeah,
So same boat. Um,
we got
and
more
again,
questions.
people may come from people may come from me now. I'm gonna honestly say that my feeling is, again, since I've been back in this country, Americans don't like having awkward, difficult conversations.
And that's with
Actually,
anything.
you know what? I shouldn't even have to apologize because if 2016 and this presidential election proved anything, Americans cannot have difficult
It's a
conversations.
difficult conversation. Yeah, ain't nobody apologizing on that. I refuse.
And this is one of, in terms of your family and your loved ones, this is a deeply personal and uncomfortable conversation to be had. I hope that Donnie and I have convinced people that it is a conversation worth having. Because again, people don't tend to collect things for no reason. My aunt Jean, bless her, who passed away earlier this year, had a wealth of funeral programs that weren't necessarily going to see the light of day. Convinced my cousins, if y'all don't want them, send them to me. I will digitize them, and they will become part of the museum's archive. Um, because those people meant something to my aunt. They clearly meant something to my. You don't keep something like that if those people didn't mean anything to you.
That's right. They
And
all, and not only that, it's a wealth of information.
it is.
It's a wealth of information. But let's get into these questions. So,
Mhm.
um, Dee asked another question. So, should we make a will and also donate while we are still alive to historical societies? I'm keeping my stuff until I leave this earth. No, they're not getting my stuff.
That again, that's a deeply personal decision.
Yeah,
I mean, I've left my instructions. I'll make my arrangements, but I'm holding on to my books until the bitter end because
yeah,
I'm jumping in those things all the time.
yeah, yeah. So then the next question was, what about the religious organizations? I actually saw this up there when we were talking about different places. And the reason why I paused this is because um, Springfield Baptist Church in Edgefield, South Carolina, which was the home church for my family and was founded by, well, mine and Brian's family. It was founded by our ancestor. They didn't have anything. They actually didn't even know that the church, the man Enoch Peterson, literally, and according to the document, he put himself back into a form of what did they call it?
Well, slavery. He was an indentured slave.
Indentured slave.
That was
Even though it was after slavery ended, they called him an indentured slave. So it was until he paid for the land that the church sits on today. They did not know that. That information is sitting in the Edgefield archives right now as we speak. And I ended up getting a printout of that contract, giving it to them. And do you know they lost it again? So, given to religious organizations, you got to make sure that that religious organization is organized and know how to keep that stuff. Is my
I was going to say, and can also receive and
yes,
serve and protect those documents or whatever you're donating, because again, they have to, especially if you're in the South, it needs to be in a temperature controlled, humidity
yeah,
controlled environment.
yeah.
And as these hurricanes are also proving, protected against water, wind, all that kind of stuff.
All of that kind of stuff, especially with the climate and the way the climate change is right now and all that. So Jamil, he says his biggest problem is family sharing pictures or wanting to release them. Ain't that the truth? Now I got lucky. And I think I got lucky because my cousin realized that I was going to take care of what she had. And I was going to, I'm gonna put them where they're supposed to be. But I don't think in her heart, I don't think she wanted to throw them away. But in the same instance, she didn't want to keep it on, she didn't want to keep all that stuff, all that junk over her house. And that's, that's what it feels like. But yeah, I got lucky. But those families that don't want to share pictures, there's another picture of my grandmother. It's very beautiful picture. And, one of the stories is it was supposed to have been my mother's picture. And my mom would say that over and over again that was her picture. And it ended up over one of my other aunt's house. And so now one of those children had the picture. But my mom swear that's her picture. That was it. That was her picture. And no copies were made. And then when copies were finally made, it was just made on a piece of paper. It's not even an original copy.
Mm.
So that release of those, releasing those pictures is a big thing. Now it was done digitally. There is a digital picture of it. So what we did for her, my sister and I did for my mom for her birthday is we took that picture and we took the digital picture of it, got it blown up and made a picture of it. And now she has a picture. Beautiful.
I'm going through something that's the other side, where someone in the greater Edgefield area had huge, I mean, they were really large framed photographs. They almost look like paintings, but they're photographs of my 4 times great grandparents, Lewis Matthews, and his wife, who was born a free woman of color, Martha Bottoms. Now, a mutual cousin of ours, went down to wherever these pictures were in the country. He took a photograph of Lewis because that's the picture that was actually out. The picture of Martha, he was told was in an attic or otherwise inaccessible, and he was a little upset because he wanted to get a picture of both of them. And I freely shared that picture of Lewis Matthews because it's a cool photograph, and I don't really have many photographs of my Black ancestors from that time period. The picture of Martha has mysteriously disappeared. Everyone is disavowing any knowledge of ever having it or even knowing where it is. Now
Right.
that picture is somewhere. And I feel a kind of way about that. Not a kind of way. I feel very angry about that because she is my ancestor too. I don't know why people are hiding her. Why are they hiding? Why are they hiding that portrait? And you know how many kids Lewis Matthews had, so you know how many descendants he has.
Right.
People every once in a while keep blowing up my inbox, going, "Has anyone found that picture of Martha Bottoms?" And I'm like, And our cousins are keeping closed mouths about it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I wanted to Gina Lewis, she said, "Wow, Donya, I didn't look at it about my female line. I do have a daughter and a granddaughter, but I never saw it until you said that, Donya." A lot of people don't look at the women line ending. We don't pay attention to women in that manner. That's another way that women are not paid attention to, as far as our line is concerned, and who we are, and we play such a role in this world, women as a whole, and it's just ignored so badly, so badly. But
I,
yeah,
I'm going to turn the tables and I'm going to ask the audience. Has anyone already started having these conversations, and have you actually started planning what you're going to do with the papers and the ephemera that you've collected during the course of your lifetime to determine who's gonna receive it?
I've read one. It's further up. I think it was Lisa. She said she's talking to her children and her grandson about those different things. Tanya Joyce Haney, who is actually a cousin of ours, she says, I keep my family obituaries in a binder. Um, Tanya says she's holding on to her stuff too. Oh, Lucretia says it
But
could be
honestly,
in the will to donate to whoever if you don't have family members to will it to. That's true, yeah.
but to be honest, I'm still holding on. I'm holding on to what I have because I'm still referring back to it a lot of the times, and I'm still using it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's what we should do, you know. There are a lot of things that we need to really start getting into and start doing and not holding back from. So I mean, and I'm trying to get myself, like I said, I'm trying to organize me to really start getting our people involved. So, for example, one of the things that I've done is the project that I just took on, and anybody who lives in the Washington, D.C. area is welcome to participate. Um, every year, Wreaths Across America goes to the uh, Arlington National Cemetery and they lay wreaths. One of our cousins, she said that a lot, she was given misinformation. I'm not even going to repeat the misinformation, but what I am going to do, it caused her misinformation caused me to start getting Black people involved in doing that and laying wreaths on a certain section. We're going to be laying wreaths on Section 27. Section 27 is the United States colored troops and the enslaved people that built certain areas in DC. So if you guys would like to participate, please let us know. Just to get out there to know, walking through a cemetery, especially that cemetery,
Hmm.
changes things.
It does. It does.
It changes things. So if you're interested, this is my way of trying to get people involved. This is it. And this one right here, you say those names, they might, don't be scared because they might come back. You may feel them. I'm not even gonna lie.
No, that's true. I'm also going to have this little shout out. So next Monday, that is Monday the 14th of October, the International African American Museum is going to actually be open. And we have a very large, my department, Center for Family History, is hosting what we call I Am History event. So it's held outside, downstairs, underneath the museum, where we will be scanning family documents, family photographs from 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Um, Set up with four or five scanners, all those kind of good things. So again, that's Monday, the 14th of October, from 10 to 3, right at the museum on 14 Wharfside Street. So if you live in and around Charleston, please think about it. I'm coming down on Monday, and we're happy to digitize things. We will hand you back the originals because we don't have a space to store it, but we will provide you with digitized copies on a free USB. And you have a little paper to sign, and we can add it to our archive.
That's awesome. I want to answer this question before
Mhm.
we get off. Gloria, I can't pronounce her last Nosit. She said, my dad was the only boy in his family and now he's deceased. My dad had no nephews and my dad had all girls. So does it mean that the male line ended with him? And I will never be able to do the ancestry DNA on my dad family lineage. Yes, his male line ended. Um, but you can still do autosomal DNA.
Oh, well, she can also do Y DNA. You would just need to go up a generation, maybe two, to find an unbroken line of males.
That's true. That part, yeah, like maybe in his son. Well, I mean,
Because he was an
yeah,
only
like
child, but
he was the only child, but was his father an only child?
exactly,
Got
he may have had uncles who had sons who
it.
have
Right,
yeah.
right. That's right. He may have had uncles who had sons. You're absolutely right. But going through him, no, you can't. There's nothing that you can do going through him. So, God, this hour went fast.
Yes, it did.
Jeez. Ooh. Well, I hope we gave y'all some information because I'm still trying to get caught up on the comments and not push them through too fast. But I hope we did. You know, we continue to give you guys information on how to do stuff. A lot of people have discussed it with their kids. I can't say that. On the question that you had, Jamil is a Holloway, Brian.
Okay.
So he thinks he's possibly related to us. I told him to send us an email. I sent us an email. I'm gonna say it again on the show. Send us an email. Last time I typed it. Now I'm gonna tell you. Send us an email.
Yes, please.
So because that's the line we're working on, and we can't stand them. But send us an email.
Man, especially Felix Holloway was. Am I looking at one person, two people, or three people? It's nutty.
Okay, Lisa. Look on my page, and it's a I'm giving her. Matter of fact, Lisa, you and I are friends on Facebook. I'll send you the invite, the evite to sign up. So we'll get back. So we'll know who you are and everything, and get stuff done. So, but yeah, Brian. Well, next week we will be talking with Nicole Hicks, and just talking about kind of piggybacking off of this, but more so about the steps on becoming a certified genealogist, because that's what she's doing and what she's going through and how she's getting, doing it, especially as an African American going through those steps. So yes, we will be talking with Nicole Hicks. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm going to say I'm very excited about next week.
Yeah.
How excited about next week I am. But as closing out the show, as always, thank you for spending this last hour. Thank you with us. Thank you for the great questions that we asked you to bring questions. You brought us some great questions. So thank you very much for that. So until next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter how or where you catch us, I'm Brian Sheffy.
And I'm Donya Williams, and you guys are so great, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye. Right.